Today we are looking at a book describing how to become Nigerian at sea. That is an experience of Nigerians on the high seas in the colonial area. The book by Schler, Nation on Board, Becoming Nigerian at Sea, was published in 2016. First envisaged as a maritime history of colonialism, the focus of this unique book eventually shifted to a study of decolonization, nationalization, and transition towards the Nigerianization of maritime trade seen from a working class viewpoint, a subject poorly considered so far. This research is based on an extensive study of maritime archives consulted in London, Liverpool, Lagos, and Amsterdam, and on 44 interviews of Nigerian sailors, navy captains, engineers, trade unionists, and administrators, recorded between 2007 and 2011. It also benefited from fieldwork, which enabled the author to access a wealth of personal documents. This research covers Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and England, focusing on African sailors' daily life between the dying years of colonialism and the end of the 1960s. Some 15 difficult years, pregnant with Nigerians' expectations. It throws some light in the way the colonial era influenced its subjects' daily life and destiny. The story starts towards the end of the 1940s, at the time of the first ship sailor recruitment drives in Lagos, meant to replace sailors from Freetown on the British-held Amsterdam Company. This was the opportunity for Nigerians to share in the circulation of goods, ideas, and populations beyond the African continent and contribute to the development of diasporas. At the time, this shipping company dominated the cargo, postage, and passenger handling business between the UK and the West African coast, monopolizing 85% of the freight. These Nigerians, attracted by the prospects of traveling and the freedom it provided, were equally proud to belong to a strictly male corporation, and they were to go through an ambivalent experience on board, under the command of British officers. Most of them still remember the last colonial years as a time of great freedom and opportunities away from family and clan constraints, a time they discovered the wider world, particularly Liverpool and its black sailors' trade unions. Communal life aboard the ships and in the ports created a bond of solidarity which extended far beyond ethnicity and race, a sort of sailors' Pan-Africanism for men who considered themselves as citizens of the black diaspora, connected to their colored brothers from Britain, the United States, and the rest of the African continent. The author succeeded in producing a book which turns out to be a gripping journal, recounting the travels and chance encounters of these unskilled Nigerian laborers. Stuck in low-paid jobs, treated as indentured servants, victimized and discriminated against, those Nigerians rapidly organized into a trade union to defend their working conditions. Meanwhile, they succeeded in supplementing their meager wages through an informal retail import-export trade which British officers chose to ignore. These men's lives were shaped by the long months they spent at sea, away from their families. They ended up getting into fleeting relationships with women here and there, securing comfort families in many ports. The sailors' double life was facilitated by the presence in Liverpool of an important black community, established towards the end of the 1920s. The author notes the impact of the Nigerian sailors' recruitment on the English society of the time, who fears the black sexuality and dreaded the prospect of mixed couples. One of the choices that make the book stand out is the place it gives for the very first time to the testimonies of the sailors' wives, whose interviews throw some light into their experience as lone parents saddled with the children's education and the household management in the absence of sailors, and this is recorded in very few other books. Flipping through the pages, one discovers a touching reflection on the concept of home. An old sailor defines it as anywhere the ship sailed to, even though most of these men ended up going back to Nigeria after retirement. The book, punctuated with an impressive number of testimonies, evaluates the impact of the gradual handover from the British to the Nigerians on sailors' daily life at sea and at home. Local and transnational imagery slowly gave way to nationalist perspectives, yet the transition towards independence, the sailor's dream, turned out to be a very difficult moment and had to be negotiated against the working class, as demonstrated by the comparison between the two eras. The author distances herself from the presentation of the elite's nationalism, choosing instead to outline the ordinary people's viewpoint. Sailors believe that once they become Nigerian, they would be better paid and would not suffer from racism. In reality, decolonization, which changed these people from world citizens to Nigerian citizens, restricted their personal independence, which was already suffering from the arrogance and demands of those of their compatriots suddenly promoted to the rank of officers. Chapter 4, 5, and 6 span the history of the Nigerian national shipping line, which can be considered as a metaphor of the Nigerian post-colonial economy and society, from its promising beginnings to the eventual failure. Weakened by the lack of experience of its leadership, eaten up by corruption and tribalism, unable to compete with the giants of seafaring commerce and reconcile the country's political and commercial interests, the company went bankrupt and closed its doors in 1994. This is a brilliant book, and I invite you to read it.